Hello, and welcome to Voices of Women, sponsored by the Bristol County Commission on the Status of Women. I am your host, Gail Forts, Executive Director of the YWCA Southeastern Massachusetts. And welcome to Boston. We are at Beacon Hill for the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women's 7th Annual Women's Advocacy Day. So today we are here from New Bedford, Fall River, Brockton, and Dartmouth. We have over 90 people, including students, that came with us to meet with our legislators to talk about issues that are important to women, children, and families. So we have a great show planned for you today, and welcome again to Boston. So, welcome back to our Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women Advocacy Day coverage. I'm here with Representative Alan Sylvia, who is the Vice Chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security. Thank you for being with us, Representative.
Happy to be here.
Good. So, one of the issues today, especially that our students are discussing, is gun control and safety, especially in public schools. What are you doing here at the State House to ensure that our students and their families are safe while they're in school?
Okay. So, first of all, we have some of the most strict gun legislation that we passed a year and a half ago here in Massachusetts. Something that we would like to see modeled throughout the country. It does not. It certainly takes into consideration those people who are supportive of the Second Amendment, and I am one as well. I think the Constitution, Second Amendment is very important. At the same time, there are a number of safeguards that we can put in place, especially around mental health issues, and in communities who need to ensure that their children and their students are safe when they're in school. So we're working on some issues that are going to support communities to get police officers in the schools. I was speaking to some folks just yesterday with regard to using retired police officers, which we think would be a great idea. And we want to ensure, especially as we're building new schools, I know that's happening in Westport, it's happening in Fall River, that we have those systems in place for immediate reaction. Legislatively, of course, we're working on the red flag issue to take out of the hands. We already have some legislation so that police departments can respond and seize firearms when if there's a serious issue where suicide is threatening or there's a mental health issue. But in this red flag legislation, it would actually allow a family member to call in and say, look, this individual has made comments, threatening comments, and is experiencing some issues that possibly, critical depression, would allow the police to get a warrant to go in and seize the weapons for mental health or for self-protection. We think that's good legislation. Anything we could do, we're going to make some amendments to protect gun owners as well, so that someone can not just helter-skelter and call in and say, hey, look, my ex-boyfriend threatened people down the street, he's going to kill them. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. So we want to put some things in place to anyone who reports something like that, then it isn't true that there'd be a serious fine levied against that individual. So we're doing some good things.
That's wonderful.
I think, of course, violent crime using handguns is down in the Commonwealth. I know that has to do with our gun legislation. We want to see that happen everywhere across the country.
Oh, that's wonderful. We have many students here today from Durfee High School, and this issue is really, really important to them. So why do you think it's important for them as high school students to be so involved in advocacy at this age?
It's good. We don't only want to see them involved in advocacy around the gun issue, but there are so many other issues. And we know we're here today that's going on right behind us as we speak.
Exactly.
But issues like paid family medical leave, so important. Equality issues around disability insurance, very important. All things that we're working on that we want to deliver. And I'm glad to see students involved. We need them to vote. We want them to vote. We want to see people we want their voice to be heard. I was happy when they came forward after the incident that happened in Florida. I think they're on the receiving end of what could happen in a community, but communities have taken steps to keep students safe, and their involvement is critical.
Well, thank you for talking with us, and thank you for your commitment to our community.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for representing us. We're here again at the State House. We just went in to see Senator Montigny's office and talk with some of the staff that works there and getting ready to go into Senator Pacheco's office. And we have here today some students from our sister school who will introduce themselves and tell us why they're here today, as well as with YWCA staff member Jordan Pouliot, who organized the day today. So why don't we start with Jordan? Tell us a little bit about the day and why this is important.
Sure. So this is actually my second time attending Women's Advocacy Day, and last year, being pregnant, it was very important to me that we were advocating for paid family medical leave, and now this year, with a new baby, that fight continues. I had the pleasure of coming and meeting with students from Global Learning Charter School and from OSS, where we talked about important legislation to women in our region, from paid family medical leave to the fight for 15, universal pre-K, and most importantly that OSS requested was that we talk about common sense gun reform, most specifically the Extreme Risk Protection Order, the ERPO bill that is currently being discussed. So the girls were very passionate about all of these issues, and so far it's been a great day.
Okay, and this is our littlest advocate, Miss Andy over here. Say your name.
My name is Felicia, and I'll be advocating for raging wages for people in the childcare industry.
Okay, great.
I'm Taylor. I'm an 8th grader at our sister school, and I will be advocating for paid family and medical leave.
My name is Lainey, and I am an 8th grader at our sister school, and I will be fighting for gun control laws.
My name is Isadora. I'm 14. I'm an 8th grader at our sister school, and I'm fighting for the fight for 15.
So is this the first time that all of you have been to the State House?
This is our second time.
Your second time, so great. So why do you think that it's important to come and talk to our legislators?
Well, to start off, I'll say a little something. A lot of people say that the children are our future, and I believe strongly in that, and I feel like we should learn to talk to our senators so that we can actually make change in our state.
To elaborate off of Isadora, how the children are the next generation of getting things done and getting things started. And so I feel like if we make a move right now as young women, we can actually make an entire change in the world and become the amazing women that we are. And we can even run the State House, we can become presidents, and we just need to know that anything that we do can change the world, and that we need to do it properly.
So why did you think that gun control was important to add to our legislative agenda? Because originally it wasn't on there, but because of your advocacy, we added that today. Why was that important?
I can speak to that. So I think it's important because we want kids and families to have their kids feel safe in school, and we want people to want to go to school. And so if we feel like schools aren't safe, or we aren't safe at school, it's going to make us not want to go to school. And I just think school is very important. And so to have tougher gun control laws, it will improve how much people want to go to school and the safety in schools.
Great.
I also want to add, we were talking about yesterday with, I forget what the name of the incel, with what's happening, and you also see a lot of domestic violence with guns in the house where females are getting beaten or shot by their partners, and gun control ties with that, and we're women, so we really want to advocate for that.
I feel like we were strongly moved by the Parkland shooting and all of the other mass shootings, and we feel like that shouldn't be something that is happening because it's such a scary thing to think about. And why should people have guns if guns are just a dangerous object, and they're not meant for any good, they're just meant for killing. And so why should anybody really have a gun properly for any use at all?
If I can add one thing. So when you mentioned Parkland, the Florida passed an ERPO bill immediately following the Parkland shooting. And California similarly passed an ERPO bill immediately after the shooting at UC Santa Barbara. Massachusetts can be on the right side of history by preemptively passing this bill instead of waiting for tragedy to strike. And so that's what we're here advocating for, to make sure that our women and students and girls are safe in school and can be there to learn and not be there scared of what can happen.
Great. Oh, thank you so much. One other thing I did want to add, any of you have political aspirations someday? Think about running for office? Maybe. But there is a new bill, this is the first time, about providing child care for women that want to run for a political office. So that's really progressive, I thought, and very exciting. Anybody can think of why that something like that would be important, to have, being able to use funds to have child care?
We believe that people who run for office are usually middle class or higher class, because low-income families can't afford to have their children being looked after while they go to events. And so the funds that will pay for their childcare will allow low-income families to run for office and do big things.
It's important for low-income families to fight for the other low-income families, because when middle-class people are fighting for the people, they're not seeing what the lower-class people are feeling. So yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you all so much for talking with us. So we're here again today with some more students. First time we have students from Brockton with us here today as part of the Southeastern Massachusetts contingent at the Women's Advocacy Day. So could you please tell us your name and your school?
I'm Sari, and I'm from New Heights Charter School.
I'm Ansha, and I'm also from New Heights Charter School.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. So why did you want to come to the Women's Advocacy Day?
Well, I wanted to come because I am a young female, and eventually I will grow up and have to deal with these problems myself. So why not see how they are, handled and planned out now?
Just like she said, I'm young, I want to learn about it, but there's a lot of stuff that happens that we don't even know about. So coming here and learning a lot more about the stuff feels really interesting.
So were there any issues in particular that you were interested in talking to the legislators about?
Yes.
Oh.
The one on how females don't have paid leave. I think that's kind of, not okay, because people have kids, or they can't afford to take care of the kids, but they also have to get off of work just to take care of them, and I think that's unfair.
This wasn't really it's kind of different, but I heard a story about someone who was struggling with finding somewhere for her kids to go to summer camp because she was financially unstable, and I found it interesting because they helped her. They helped her find a camp, and they got the kids put in, and it was very productive. And I was I didn't know people did that. So.
Oh, wonderful. So being your first time, what did you think about being at the State House?
It was honestly a really great experience. I learned a lot more. I didn't know you could just contact them in a snap.
Yes, so now you learned, and you can bring that back. That remember, we, once you're ready to vote, we elect our officials, and this is our State House.
It's nice to know that at 15, I have a voice.
Literally.
It's
right,
nice.
and it doesn't just end today. You can still talk to them back in Brockton. You can make phone calls, send emails, and I know a lot of them are on social media too. So it's really important to hear your voices heard. And have you ever thought about running for office someday?
No. But I don't mind being involved.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, it's great that you're here and to be leaders, and that you can bring us back to your school. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So, what do you want to talk to me about something today,
We
right?
do. I'm going to just give you quick headlines, and I know you have my card, but just showing how we do it, I'll give you my card. This is how we do it. And I'll give the headlines, and then other people are going to tell you a little more about why these things are important. And so we'll leave this with you. And there are a list of bills that the Mass Commission on the Status of Women, our hosts, are focused on. But there are some other ones that we're focused on. So there's a category of bills that relate to the workplace, women in the workplace, paid family and medical leave, which I know you support, increasing the minimum wage. Those are two really important things. A majority of minimum wage workers are women. And then access to early childhood, quality child care and education. And thank you to you in the House for passing the rate reserve. That's really important, so we're supporting that, and the universal pre-K bill. and also the Fair Share Amendment to help pay for the education that so needs investment. And then the final bill that we are supporting was actually an issue brought to our attention by the girls at our sister school, and embraced by the students at Global Learning and the rest of us, which is a gun control bill related to high-risk offenders to be able to give.
Yeah, we're going to do that one.
Good.
Shortly.
Excellent. So we'll want to hear more about that. That's our short list, and I think I'll turn it over. Maybe since you brought that up, anybody want to say something about the gun control bill, since we're on that, about why that you think is important?
So just a general question, what do you have planned for the gun control bill?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the gun control bill is pretty simple. I mean, as you may know, here in Massachusetts, we have probably the most comprehensive and strict gun laws in the country. That does not mean you cannot own a gun and carry a gun. That's Second Amendment rights. And we all agree that you should have that access in that sense. Now, the bill that we will be taking up is a bill that will give the ability of either law enforcement or a family member to petition the court in case if someone might be a danger to themselves or to others. And if they do have a gun, that gun will be temporarily removed up to a year or more, depending on the situation, but at least temporarily, until him or her, in this case, would be determined to be okay to own and carry that gun again. I mean, some folks, this has to do with folks that might have some mental health issues, and not just mental health issues. I mean, there are other issues that people have, and sometimes they can be violent. They can be violent to themselves and hurt themselves and others. So that's the piece that we don't have in place. That will be passed by the House shortly, and then we do expect the Senate to pass it as well.
How can
The
we help?
gun lobby groups don't like it, including our own lobbying group here in Massachusetts, which is called GOLD, which is the subsidiary of, NRA in Massachusetts. But I think we have the support, I think we have the votes to pass that.
Good. How can we help?
Well, keep talking to your legislators, write letters to leadership. The speaker has made a commitment, a public commitment, actually. He visited Cambridge High School, or Cambridge Latin High School, that's the official name. And actually, he made a public commitment during that visit. So we know we have a great shot of passing it. It doesn't mean everybody will support it. We hope that it would be nice to be unanimous. We don't know if that's going to be the case, but as long as we have the majority.
And will the governor sign it?
Well, I will hope that that he does sign it. I haven't seen any statements from him that indicates that he's necessarily strongly opposed to it.
Good to know.
So I think he's open-minded on the issue.
We are here with one of the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women's Commissioners, our own Jean Fox from Southeastern Massachusetts. Thank you, Jean, for being here.
Well, thank you, Gail. What a wonderful day it is for women, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. And Jean is also one of the first women that served on the Bristol County Commission on the Status of Women.
That's right. So the Bristol County Commission was the third regional commission in the Commonwealth, and we were all sworn in 2009, March 31 of 2009. I sat on that commission for 9 years, so I couldn't sit on it anymore. My term expired. And then after a short hiatus, I was elevated to the State Commission, and it is an honor to represent the women of Southeastern Mass at the state level.
Oh, great. Thank you so much again. So tell us a little bit about why the Mass Commission organizes the Women's Advocacy Day.
Absolutely. So as a state commission, we take it upon ourselves to travel the Commonwealth and listen to women about compelling issues for women and families across the state. And they're similar in many places, but they're dissimilar in others. then we also enlist the aid of all the regional commissions. What do you hear in your hearings and in your discussions with women and families? And we take all those things, plus all the bills that are in front of our legislative delegation, and we hone them down to a manageable number that we believe we can effectively advocate for here in Boston. That's what we do. We've honed them down to the 4 current issues, and we understand New Bedford has brilliantly brought up another one that is resonating throughout southeastern Mass, and that is the gun control bill. But we are also paid family medical leave, the Healthy Youth Act, the disability insurance, the gross inequities and women's premiums, and then, the funding that we need for women to run for elected office. These are our priorities, and these are priorities the state can enact with the advocacy that we're seeing here today.
Okay. So we know that, today, again, is just the start.
Right.
We are talking to our legislators. What is your advice, or what do you think now when we go home today and tomorrow and from there on, what should we do to make sure that these things stay in the forefront of not only the commission but our legislators?
Right. So excellent question, Gail, and that's what I've been trying to tell all the students we brought up here today. Your advocacy doesn't stop because you dropped in on a legislator and said, I care about these issues, I care about where I live, I care about my family, and I care about women. You have to make phone calls. You have to send emails and letters. You have to try to get online and find out where the bills are, what the status of the bills is. Easy to do because the state has a really good way of making sure it's easy to track legislation. And then if you see it's going the wrong way, you pick up the phone and you call again and again and again, because advocacy, as we know from our work on equal pay, takes years sometimes. And we can't stop just because we popped in on a legislator.
So I know that today we have even more students than we've had, in the past. We've really broadened our group this year, and you were crucial in making that happen. So you can tell us about some of the students that you brought from Brockton and Fall River.
Did. So I'm first of all very happy to see a repeat performance with our sister school and with Global Charter. Those are 2 awesome schools, and they've been consistent in attending. Durfee and Fall River, tremendous enthusiasm for this, to the point where we had to turn so many students away because of space limitations. But I'm going to go into Durfee and talk to them more about these things. And then I also reached out to Brockton because a lot of people don't realize, but we have now 11 regional commissions. Plymouth County is the most recent, and Brockton being in Plymouth County, I thought, what a great opportunity for our Brockton students to understand they have a regional voice as well as a voice in Massachusetts. So I'm thrilled to have New Heights Charter out of Brockton, as well as our sister school, Global Charter, and Durfee High School. I think it's a great demonstration of the commitment of our kids in our region to advocate for women and families.
All right, great, wonderful. Well, thank you, Jean, for speaking with us, and thank you for advocating for women, children, and families.
Thank you.
And now we have some students from the Global Learning Charter Public School here at Women's Advocacy Day. So if you could just both introduce yourselves.
I'm Serena Gadencio, and I am a sophomore at Global Learning Charter Public School.
And I'm Emily Sauer. I'm also a sophomore at CPS.
Well, thank you for being here today. So why was it important for you to come to the Women's Advocacy Day at the State House?
I feel like it's important to come here to show that we are powerful, and to show ourselves and show that we can do things that men can do, and that we are.
Yeah, so I can kind of base it a little bit off of Emily and what she said. Both me and Emily, being teenage girls in high school, trying to get through different situations that include the mail, and hearing about the wage gap with money, and how sometimes women who have more skill than the male, they don't get paid as much. And we, as Emily and I, we want to go into very doctors, and I want to be a veterinarian, so going into those high career fields like that kind of gets a little nervous for both of us, because we want to know, are we going to get paid as much, and all this kind of stuff. So being able to speak with the senators is pretty awesome, and a really great experience for both of us and for our school in general. So it's really great to come out and talk about what we can do as citizens of New Bedford. So yeah.
Any other issues that, particularly that you were interested in? I know a lot of the school shootings and the school bill was really important to a lot of the students and parents that came with us today.
One of my classmates, Samantha Oliveira, she talked about that situation because she is really into kind of keeping our school safe and making sure, like no one comes in or anything like that. And some schools have like metal detectors or like a officer that patrols around the school like that. So having something like that can keep not only us women, but the community in general safe. So that's also a big issue that happened. So, and also the paid medical leave, that act as well, being able to know that you're going to get paid at home if you're helping a loved one, or also, you're going to have a baby and not worry about not getting paid when you're taking care of the child. So those were the main issues that we focused on during this. So, yeah, that's basically what happened.
Great. Well, thank you so much for
you.
coming today.
Thank you.
So we have just finished all of our legislative visits, and we are here with some students representing the Fall River area and Durfee High School. So if you could just please tell us your name and what grade you are in school.
My name is Nora Isa, and I'm in the 10th grade.
I'm Nicole Marmolejos, and I'm a junior.
I'm Nicole Yamanstasko, and I'm also in 10th grade.
My name is Sumaya Udin, and I'm a sophomore, and we're all from Durfee High School.
So this is great to have Durfee participate with us this year for the first time. So why did you think it was important to participate in the Women's Advocacy Day?
It was important because we, as open-minded as we are, we don't really know much about what goes on in the state level. So it was a good learning experience to get to know everything and all the bills.
We also don't get many opportunities to speak on our own personal opinions to people of this level of authority. So it was nice to be like in the region and get a little closer and be actually able to talk to them. We got to talk to Mrs. Fiola. I'm not sure.
Representative Fiola.
Yes, Representative Fiola. Yes. So it was a great opportunity.
Right. You wanted something to add?
Just in general, I feel women are very underrepresented in all industries, but especially in government industries. So to get our voices out there and to hear about issues that women currently in the government feel are important was important to us.
Great. So now that you've done your visit, so what did you advocate for? Was there any bill in particular that was special to you that you were really passionate about advocating for?
We were mostly advocating for paid medical leave for people like with disabilities, for like women and families, which I think is really important for women, especially because, of course, like as we grow older, like many of us have families and we want to care for like our children or whatever. And I think it's really important that we advocate as people who are like in the future going to have families as well.
And you mentioned about women being underrepresented. There's a bill this year for the first time about having funds to be used for childcare while women want to either run for public office or advocate or help someone as they're going for office. Why do you think a bill like that is so important to assist women in running for office?
It's important because it gives a lot of working moms the opportunity to run for office and represent us the way that we deserve to be. And it seems like an issue that's overlooked mostly, but it's an important one.
So now that you've done this today, now you're going to go back home, and now what thoughts or what are you going to bring back to your classmates, to your families, to your school about the importance of this? I know you right
I think definitely just speaking your voice, no matter female or male, just speaking your voice, stating your opinion, and using the resources that you have, such as technology, email, phones, to call legislators and write emails addressing these issues and saying that you want this bill passed, and then encouraging everybody to vote and vote by the deadline or register to vote by the deadline.
That's great. Yeah. Now that I've come here, I've actually gotten to learn that even as a high school student, I have the power to go online and search up certain concerns that I'm concerned about and would like to advocate for, and talk to my friends and tell my relatives to vote for them. So now that I've come here, I know I can do that, and I'm looking forward to engaging in that.
And specifically like the IRPA bill, I know for sure my mother doesn't know about it, so I'd like to give her a little bit of what it's about, because at this point I'm graduating next year, so I won't really be in high school, but my sister is still in elementary, and I'd like that to be enforced because I can't be worrying about her every day because of the things that goes on.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to see, wonderful leaders, going for the future. So good luck. Thank you. Today has been a wonderful day, Women's Advocacy Day, the 7th annual that was sponsored by the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. Our Southeastern delegation had over 80 students, women, going in, speaking with our legislators about priority issues that are important to us. So we know that our voice matters, your vote counts. Thank you again for watching Voices of Women.